So right now here in the Midwest, the temperatures are getting to the point where we're going to have freezing temperatures. And with freezing temperatures means that we need to make sure that our antifreeze is good to go for the winter. So typically, if the car's not been serviced, there should be no issues with this. And today we're going to show you a couple of cheap tools that you can buy at a local parts store in order to check this freezing point. So we have a high mileage 2006 Honda Accord. It's probably got nearly 200,000 miles on it. And what we're going to show you is how to use a tool called a hydrometer. So there's a couple different styles. And we have one that has a needle that sweeps up and down with a scale here on this side. And then we also have the one that has the floating balls. Today we're going to actually show you the one that has the floating balls in order to check this. So this coolant here we're hoping to have is going to be this Honda coolant right here. So it's a 50-50 diluted mix. And what we're trying to ensure is that when we get into those really cold temperatures, say in January time frame, we want to make sure that the freezing point is suitable for days when we have maybe a day where it's a high of -5 or maybe down in the 10-degree range. So it's super cold those days. And so what we're going to do is we're going to access our coolant either through our overflow bottle or ideally through our radiator and our radiator cap. Before we do so, we want to make sure that this is at ambient or room temperature. So right now this car's been sitting for several hours. I can touch the radiator cap. It's not hot to touch, and so it's going to be okay to remove that cap. Understand that if you went up here and you remove this cap and you let it go, that there's likely going to be pressure. So we never want to open this cap. There's actually a warning on top of it. When it's nice and hot, you have to wait until it's cooled off and it's at room temperature. And even then, just be aware that some caps may have a little bit of pressure in the system. The reason we're not going to go into the overflow, and that's not the ideal location, the overflow could have had someone go ahead and top off with water or pure concentrate, so it's not going to be as accurate as what's actually flowing through the engine. Now, ideally, they would both be the same mixture, but again, if somebody's over or topped off the overflow, you could get false results there. So we're going to take this cap off, and we're going to go inside there and check this. So let's go ahead and do that now. We're going to push down and turn, like such. Our cap will come on off, we'll wiggle it off, and this is going to access our coolant. What we're going to do is we're going to take this hose, put it down into the radiator. We're going to squeeze the bulb and use the suction to bring coolant up into this, and then we're going to pinch the hose off so we don't lose coolant. So here we go. We're going to squeeze it first before we insert it. We're going to put it down into the coolant. We're going to fill this reservoir up like such. We're going to pinch it off so we don't lose any coolant. And then what we're going to look for, and we'll have to get a close-up of this here in a second, is the number of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 floating balls. And what I'll do here in a second is I'll let the coolant go. We'll look at the scale, but the 5 floating balls will indicate what our freezing point is and what it's good to. And then this is important because if you're going to live up in the northern area where you can get even cooler temperatures that we have here in Ohio, is it will allow us to kind of have an idea of do we need to go ahead and exchange this coolant and put in more concentrate so it has a stronger mixture of coolant to water. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take that coolant, we're going to put it back into the radiator, and what I'm going to show you here real quick is once we do that, we'll show you the actual scale because it's kind of hard to see with the coolant in here, but I'm going to guess it's around -30 degrees Fahrenheit. So let's go ahead and put our coolant back into our radiator by just pushing the bulb, squeezing that pressure. Some of it's going into our overflow, so it's taking just a second here. And I'll tell you what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the rest and put it into the overflow because our radiator is starting to fill up. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to basically show you what the scale was with the 5 floating balls here on this hydrometer. Don't forget to put your cap back on. Push down and rotate until it stops. With the number of balls floating, we had 5. And if we look at our scale, 5 floating balls, and it's kind of hard to read here, so we'll show you a picture of that here in just a second. It's going to read -37 degrees Fahrenheit, which is an ideal mixture here for the Midwest. So there's no concerns about that. So that tells me that it's good. Now, if we had no balls floating or 0 balls floating or 1 ball floating, that would be a cause for concern. And that means that we actually want to go ahead and drain this coolant and actually fill up with a 50-50 mixture. And so what you're looking for when you're at your dealership or your repair store, parts store, is you're looking for what I consider to be a 50-50 pre-diluted mixture. Now, some of you would say, well, this is kind of a scam because you're getting less coolant and you're selling this. And the intent of this is this actually has distilled water, and so we don't have to worry about the variable of hard water maybe here in the Midwest, and so it takes the variable about the hardness of water out. Ideally, we use distilled water with concentrate in a 50-50 mixture. This takes the guesswork out for you consumers. So your repair technician may use concentrate and mix that up with the same parts water for 50-50 mixture, but you can buy this at your local dealerships in a 50-50 pre-diluted mixture, so you can take this straight into your radiator or straight into your coolant reservoir.